Grace's sacrifice for love. Grace grew up in a modest household where every penny counted. Her parents were farmers who worked tirelessly to provide for their children, instilling in them the values of hard work and sacrifice. Grace was the eldest of 5 siblings, and from a young age, she knew it was her responsibility to set an example for her younger ones. She was bright and ambitious, with dreams of becoming a nurse. "I'll help people and make a better life for my family," she often told herself. Despite their financial struggles, Grace managed to get into a nursing school. She worked hard, balancing her studies with part-time jobs to pay her fees. But life took an unexpected turn when she met Patrick. Patrick was introduced to Grace through a mutual friend at a local event. He was charming with a quick smile and a way of making people feel special. Grace found herself drawn to him, and it wasn't long before they began dating. Patrick had big dreams too. He wanted to become an engineer and talked endlessly about how he would design roads, bridges, and buildings that would change the face of their community. But unlike Grace, Patrick's family couldn't afford to send him to school. One evening, as they sat under a mango tree in her family's yard, Patrick sighed heavily. "What's wrong?" Grace asked, concerned. Patrick hesitated, then said, "Sometimes I feel like life is so unfair. I have all these dreams, Grace, but no way to achieve them. If only I could go to school, everything would change." Grace saw the pain in his eyes and felt a deep desire to help. She thought about his words for days, wrestling with her own ambitions and her love for him. Then she made a decision. The next time they met, Grace said, "Patrick, I've been thinking. I want to help you go to school." Patrick's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "I'll pay your school fees," Grace said. "You're smart and hardworking. You deserve a chance to succeed. I believe in you." Patrick was overwhelmed. "Grace, I can't let you do that. You have your own school to think about." Grace shook her head. "I'll figure something out. Your dreams are important to me. I know you'll make it." And so, Grace made the ultimate sacrifice. She dropped out of nursing school and used the money she had saved for her tuition to pay Patrick's school fees. It wasn't an easy decision, but she convinced herself it was worth it. Grace's life changed drastically after that. Instead of attending classes, she spent her days working odd jobs to support Patrick. She woke up before sunrise to sell Accra bean cakes at the market and spent her afternoons washing clothes for wealthy families. In the evenings, she worked as a cleaner at a local restaurant. "Grace, why are you doing all this?" her mother once asked, concerned about her daughter's endless labor. "I'm investing in the future of Mama," Grace replied. "Patrick will graduate and take care of us. Everything will be fine." Her siblings too missed having her around. Grace often came home too tired to play or help with their homework. Still, she remained determined, holding on to the hope that Patrick's success would bring them all a better life. There were times when Grace doubted her decision. She saw her friends from school moving on, wearing their uniforms and talking about their lessons. She missed the laughter they shared and the dreams they once discussed. "I'm making a mistake," she wondered late at night when exhaustion kept her awake. But Patrick's words always reassured her. "Grace, I'll never forget what you've done for me," he often said. "One day, I'll make you proud." As Patrick progressed in his studies, Grace noticed subtle changes in him. He became busier and less available, often claiming he had assignments or study groups. He stopped calling her pets names and sometimes seemed impatient when they talked. One day, Grace decided to surprise him at his school. She brought him homemade food and some of his favorite snacks. When she arrived, Patrick was sitting with a group of friends, laughing and talking. "Grace," he said, standing up awkwardly, "what are you doing here?" "I came to see you," she said, smiling. "I brought you some food." Patrick thanked her, but seemed distracted. Grace felt a palm of sadness but brushed it aside. "He's just busy," she told herself. Despite everything, Grace never wavered in her belief in Patrick. She saw him as her partner, someone worth every sacrifice. She imagined their future together, a beautiful home, children, and a life filled with love and success. Her friends and family often questioned her devotion. "Grace, you've given up so much for Patrick," Amaka said one day. "Are you sure he appreciates it?" "He does," Grace replied firmly. "Patrick loves me. We are building something great together." But deep down, Grace couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was changing. Patrick was no longer the humble, grateful man she had fallen in love with. Yet she held on to hope, believing her sacrifices would one day bear fruit. Patrick's graduation day was a moment of pride for Grace. She sat in the audience, her heart swelling with joy as Patrick walked across the stage in his neatly pressed graduation gown. He was beaming as he received his certificate. Then Grace clapped so hard that her palm stung. "That's my Patrick," she thought, tears dreaming in her eyes. As a ceremony, Patrick introduced Grace to some of his classmates and professors. "This is Grace," as he said with a smile. "She's the reason I'm here today." For a brief moment, Grace felt seen, appreciated, and valued. But the glimmer of gratitude in Patrick's words was short-lived. Shortly after graduation, Patrick landed a coveted position at a prestigious construction company in the city. It was a well-paying job with opportunities for growth, and Patrick wasted no time embracing his new lifestyle. He moved into a sleek apartment, bought a car, and began dressing in expensive suits. The man who once struggled to afford basic necessities now attended elite parties and mingled with influential people. Grace, however, remained in the background, still working hard to make ends meet. While Patrick's life seems to soar, has remained stuck in the sacrifices she had made. "Don't worry, Grace," Patrick would say when she voiced her concerns about their future. "Now that I have a good job, everything will fall into place. I'll take care of you." But as Patrick rose in status, his priorities began to shift. Patrick's visits to Grace became less frequent. When she called, he was often too busy to talk or claimed he was in a meeting. One evening, Grace suggested they plan their wedding. "Patrick, we've been together for years," she said softly. "Don't you think it's time we got married and started a family?" Patrick hesitated. "Of course, Grace, but let's not rush. I'm still settling into my new job. Once everything is stable, we'll plan something beautiful." Grace wanted to believe him, but his excuses became more frequent. He started spending time with new friends, some of whom looked down on Grace for her modest background. "Who's that girl Patrick is always with?" one of Grace's neighbors asked her one day, showing her a picture on social media. Patrick was at a party, his arm around a stylishly dressed woman. "That's probably just a colleague," Grace said, forcing a smile, but inside her hat sank. The final blow came one evening when Grace decided to surprise Patrick at his apartment. She had cooked his favorite meal and brought it along, excited to spend some time with him. When she knocked, Patrick opened the door, looking startled. "Grace, what are you doing here?" he asked, blocking the entrance. "I came to see you," Grace said, holding up the food. "I thought we could have dinner together." Before Patrick could respond, a woman's voice called from inside. "Patrick, who's at the door?" Grace's hat stopped. She pushed past him and saw a woman sitting on the couch sipping wine. "Who is she?" Grace demanded, her voice trembling. Patrick stammered, but the woman spoke up. "I'm his girlfriend. Who are you?" The room spun as Grace struggled to process what was happening. She looked at Patrick, hoping he would deny it, but he didn't. "Grace," he said, his voice low, "I think we need to talk. I've been meaning to tell you. I don't think we are right for each other anymore. I've changed, and so have my expectations. You're a good person, but we're not on the same level now." Grace felt like the ground had been pulled out from under her. "Not on the same level." "Patrick, I gave up everything for you. I worked day and night so you could have this life." "I didn't ask you to do that," Patrick said coldly. "You made those decisions yourself." Grace's hands trembled as she dropped the food she had brought, the pot clattering loudly on the floor. Tears trimmed down her face as she fled the apartment. Despite the betrayal, Patrick decided to go through with the wedding plans they had started. Grace, blinded by love and desperate to salvage what they had, forgave him and convinced herself that things would get better once they were married. Patrick allowed her to do most of the planning, but he remained detached, attending only a few meetings. The night before their traditional marriage ceremony, Patrick didn't come home. While driving home late, Patrick spotted a beautiful woman, Beda, walking along the road. He stopped to offer her a ride, drawn to her elegance and charm. "Let me drop you off," he said, flashing a winning smile. Aida agreed, and as they talked, Patrick found himself captivated by her beauty and confidence. He decided to take her to a hotel, and they spent the night together. The next morning, Patrick showed up at Grace's family home, where the traditional marriage ceremony was supposed to take place. The guests were gathered, and Grace was dressed in her finest attire, beaming with excitement. But Patrick stood in front of everyone and said, "I'm sorry, but I can't marry Grace. She's not my level anymore, and I don't want to go through with this." The crowd gasped. Grace collapsed to the ground, wailing in heartbreak. Her friends and family tried to console her, but her world had crumbled. After the chaos and humiliation Patrick caused on what was supposed to be his wedding day, he believed he was free to live the life he desired. Grace was out of the picture, and he had a new woman, Hedda, the same woman he spent the night with before the ceremony. Patrick envisioned a life of success, wealth, and prestige, unbuttoned by what he saw as Grace's simplicity. Patrick decided to pursue a relationship with Hedda, charmed by her beauty and sophistication. He showered her with gifts, taking her to expensive restaurants and introducing her to his new social circle. To him, Hedda was a surprise, someone who matched the image he had of himself as a rising star. But Patrick soon began noticing strange things about Hedda. One evening, while they were at dinner, Hedda excused herself to make a phone call. Patrick overheard fragments of her conversation in hushed tones, but something about her tone was unsettling. "Hedda, who are you talking to?" Patrick asked when she returned. "Just a friend," she said dismissively, avoiding his eyes. Patrick didn't push farther, but the uneasing that. A month later, Patrick decided it was time to take things to the next level. He approached Hedda's family to declare his intentions to marry her. This was a step of pride for him, as marrying Hedda felt like cementing his status. When he arrived at her family compound, he was greeted warmly, but the atmosphere shifted as soon as he explained his purpose. Hedda's father frowned, her mother exchanged worried glances, and her older brother stood abruptly. "Patrick," Hedda's father began gravely, "there's something you need to know." Patrick felt a chill run down his spine. "Hedda isn't an ordinary woman," her father continued. "She is dedicated to the oracle of our land. She is the wife of the spirit that protects this community. No man is allowed to marry her. Anyone who dares to touch her must face the consequences." Patrick's face paled. "What are you saying? That can't be true. Hedda and I..." The room fell silent as everyone stared at him, realization dawning on their faces. "You've already been with her," Hedda's brother said, his voice heavy with dread. Patrick tried to deny it, but Hedda stepped forward, her face somber. "It's true," she said quietly. "You fool," her father roared, slamming his hand on the table. "Do you know what you've done? By being with her, you've angered the oracle. You must pay the price." The elders of Hedda's community were summoned, and they delivered their verdict. For violating the secret covenant, Patrick was required to make an atonement, offering 7 cows, 7 goats, and other traditional items. Until this was done, he would be cast with misfortune. Patrick was stunned. The cost of the offering was far beyond what he could afford, even with his well-paying job. "Can't I just pay money instead?" Patrick asked desperately. The elders shook their heads. "The oracle cannot be bribed. If you refuse to comply, your life will spiral into ruin. Patrick tried to argue, but it was no use. The weight of his actions hung over him like a dark cloud. Patrick initially ignored the warning, thinking it was all superstitious nonsense. But soon, strange things began happening. At work, he started making costly mistakes that drew the attention of his superiors. His once promising career began to falter. Projects he managed fell apart, and he was blamed for delays and financial losses. One evening, while driving home from work, his car suddenly broke down in the middle of the road. Despite multiple attempts to fix it, the car refused to start. These things happen, Patrick told himself, trying to stay optimistic. But the incidents continued. He fell ill frequently with headaches and fevers that no doctor could diagnose. His finances dwindled as unexpected expenses piled up. His friends began distancing themselves, unwilling to associate with someone who seemed cursed. One by one, Patrick's possessions were sold to cover his debts. The sleek apartment, the car, and even his designer suits were all gone. He found himself living in a cramped, rundown room of a far cry from the life of luxury he once enjoyed. Ada, who had initially promised to stay by his side, vanished without a word. Patrick was left alone, consumed by regret and bitterness. Meanwhile, Grace's life took a turn for the better. She married Gozi, Patrick's best friend, who treated her with the love and respect she deserved. Gozi encouraged her to return to school, and together they built a happy, stable life. One day, Patrick saw Grace and Gozi at a community event. They were laughing, holding hands, and surrounded by friends. Patrick felt a pang of jealousy and shame. The woman he had discarded was thriving while he was trapped in the ruins of his choices. Desperate to lift the curse, Patrick returned to Ada's community to fulfill the oracle's demands. But by then, it was too late. The elders informed him that the window for torment had passed. The oracle's anger could no longer be appeased. Patrick left the village a broken man. His dreams, ambitions, and pride had all crumbled, leaving him with nothing but the painful realization of his mistakes. This story carries deep moral lessons about love, sacrifice, gratitude, and the consequences of betrayal. Grace's sacrifice for Patrick was a testament to selfless love and devotion. She gave up her education and future dreams to ensure Patrick could succeed. Her actions reflect the depth of commitment that true love often demands. However, the story also highlights that sacrifices should be reciprocated and valued. Patrick's lack of appreciation for Grace's efforts and his eventual betrayal underscored the importance of gratitude. Sacrifices are not to be taken for granted. They should inspire mutual respect and loyalty. Patrick's rise to success was largely due to Grace's unwavering support, yet he became blinded by pride and ambition, forgetting those who helped him along the way. His actions showed the dangers of ingratitude and arrogance. The story teaches that success should not make us forget our roots or the people who stood by us during difficult times. True success is measured not only by wealth and status, but also by how we treat others, especially those who supported us. Patrick's betrayal of Grace was the turning point in his life. His selfishness and infidelity not only destroyed his relationship, but also led to his eventual downfall. This serves as a warning that betrayal often comes with a price. When we hurt or use others for personal gain, it can lead to regret and suffering in the long run. Trust and loyalty are the foundations of any relationship. When breaking them can have far-reaching consequences. Patrick's desire to elevate his status led him to pursue Ada, a woman he believed was more on his level. However, his superficial judgment of worth and his pursuit of temporary pleasures blinded him to the reality of his actions. The story teaches that chasing after fleeting desires, such as status, wealth, or appearances, can lead to poor decisions and eventual regret. True worth lies in character, loyalty, and love, not external markers of success. Patrick's downfall was not just a result of the cast, but also the natural consequence of his choices. His arrogance, betrayal, and disregard for others ultimately led to his misery. The story reinforces the idea of karma. Our actions, whether good or bad, are a way of coming back to us. Patrick's misfortune serves as a reminder to always act with integrity, kindness, and fairness. While Patrick's story is one of downfall, Grace's journey is one of resilience and triumph. Despite being betrayed and humiliated, she found love and happiness with someone who valued her. This teaches that even in the face of heartbreak and betrayal, it is possible to heal and rebuild. Grace's ability to move forward and find joy again is an inspiration to anyone who has faced similar struggles. The contrasting relationships in the story, Grace's toxic relationship with Patrick and her healthy relationship with Gozi, highlight the qualities of true love. While Patrick exploited Grace's kindness, Gozi uplifted and supported her, encouraging her to pursue her dreams. This demonstrates that love is not about what we can take from someone, but about what we can build together. Mutual respect, chaos, and encouragement are the hallmarks of a strong and lasting partnership. This story ultimately teaches that success without integrity is hollow, and betrayal leads to ruin. It encourages us to appreciate those who support us, act with humility, and make choices gated by love and respect.